Good morning. It is day 6 on the Sweet Ruka Atlantic crossing.
We just did a little sail change. We went from the staysail up front to the big working number 2 jib.
And we are still reefed, 2 reefs in the main.
That seems to be just about the right sail selection right now. We've got a good amount of heel. We're making 7.5 knots of boat speed, and we are going pretty much in the right direction.
Now we're ready for some coffee. Sometimes you gotta get a little work done before you get your morning coffee. Now we're going fast.
Now, should we do a coffee making episode? You have to do it because everybody does it.
All right, let's do it. We need a lid. Good temperature?
Yeah, it's good coffee, babe. Really good.
Hey everyone, we're Sailing Sweet Ruka. I'm Kate, this is Curtis, and Roxy the dog. And we're here to sail around the world via Cape Horn and the Cape of Good Hope. We like to take the sea less traveled and are ready for some serious offshore sailing. So come along for the ride and click subscribe. Hi! Oh!
Well, after fighting through some heavy wind, now we're fighting through light wind. Too light that the autopilot is having trouble driving in it. Our optimal tack to the mark is actually this way, but we're continuing north for right now because all the models are wrong. We're not really sure what else to do. It's not something you really want to say as a weather router or as a navigator, but sometimes you just have to shake up the dice and roll them. Even the NOAA weather forecasters, you can tell in their text and discussion forecasts and the weather facts images that they keep going back and forth, changing their minds, and they don't know. So if they don't know, there's no way I can know. We're just trying to work our way up here. We're gaining degree by degree, click by click on the winch in this light air, just to kind of keep the momentum of the boat going and get us moving a little bit more towards the mark versus away. Our goal here is to build maximum speed and momentum. We really want to use our foils in order to create our speed and lift the boat forward and upwind. The waves and swell make it just a little bit more interesting because you're going up and down on these big swells like this, which is changing your wind angles on your sails and also at the masthead. So your wind readings are varying as well as the apparent wind on your sails are varying a little bit as well as the mast goes back and forth like this. You can kind of see it in the apparent wind reader. I don't know if you guys could see that, but there was a piece of white trash just floating in the ocean right there. Gross. While we're up here, I'm sure some of you guys have some questions about this. Our number 2 jib, or Genoa, looks really bad. This whole section right here behind me is laminate, and it's been delaminating, and all these fibers have just dropped out of here, and there's just a big pile of fibers with emptiness in there. So you've got a huge bag in the bottom here. It's really time for a new jib for us, but we're just milking this one for everything it's got because we don't really have the budget to just go crazy on sails here. The shape of the sail behind me though is actually still pretty decent. So that gives you an idea of the difference between a Dacron sail and a laminate sail like this. This sail is 21 years old and still holding its shape. A Dacron sail of the same age that would be put through the same stress would be all blown out and be looking really, really baggy and have a poor aerodynamic shape, which you can actually even start to see a little bit in our main only after 5,000 or 6,000 miles. So we really would like to get another laminate jib just because it's so much better shape, but we'll see what the budget can provide. Ooh, look what Kate has.
Delicious cheeses. And here comes the assistant snacktician, ready to snack on the snacks. Willing to risk her life in the cockpit for some cheese. I think it's worth it, Roxy. It's pretty good cheese. Really good with Triscuits. You want some?
Yep. Feed me.
Airplane here.
Today, we're actually having to go upwind to get to our cruising destination. So we decided to dial in the Sweet Ruka and see just how high we could take her. And the good news is she goes pretty high and pretty fast. Check it out.
Even with a blown out jib. Polar boat speed is 90.
90%?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And optimal heading is 37, 39 degrees.
Okay, so we're a little low of our optimals right now, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, keep in mind this is with an autopilot driving, so we'll tune them up a little more here. Here, we'll take a look at our mainsail, see the trim on that. So you can see we've pretty much got all the telltales flying, except for the very top one who's ticking off. The second from the top ticks off every once in a while. Here we go, 7 knots. What's our, call it out, babe.
Polar boat speed is 93%, 95%, 97%, 98%, and optimal heading is 43 degrees.
Hey, 5 under. All right, well, I gotta get this puppy going some more. I think our wind is shifting. About 9.6 knots of wind speed, and we're doing 6.6, 6.7 knots of boat speed. Not too bad for a mono hull.
Polar boat speed was 120%.
120% there for a second.
Yeah. Optimal heading 39.
All right, we're crushing it. Okay guys, there you have it. We can hit appearance into the high 20s and true wind into about 50 degrees true to the boat, and boat still sails pretty well. The Sweet Ruka is wound up like a race boat right now. Don't do this very often. Fixer, it didn't happen. Target true wind angle.
Oh yeah, 103% boat speed.
Why do we care about polar boat speed, you ask? If we can sail efficiently, we can stay in the weather routing of what the program expects the boat to do. We imagine we average around 80% of our best polars most of the time. So when we run the weather models, it's more accurate of where we will be and when. This time around, we enjoyed getting the boat up to her polar boat speed for the tricky conditions. It doesn't hurt to be a little ahead when none of the models are lining up.
It's the night shift here, Monday. We're getting about midway to our destination here in the Atlantic Ocean. Right now we're motoring. The wind has died quite a bit. It's shifty as we're in a little gap between two systems here. So there's a front on our left or port side that should have some winds from south to north or some southwest winds. And right now we're sitting in a north wind in this high pressure right in front of the front. A lot of this is being driven by what they're calling Tropical Storm Anna, which should be right now just to the northwest of us. Don't worry, we're a few hundred miles away. This is officially now our longest passage yet. Our previous record for Sweet Ruka was 6 days, so we're right now going into day number 7. Kind of awesome. It's a good feeling. So we're going to look at some wind and weather files here on the computer. Download those through the satellite up here, and hopefully we can gain some more information as to where the wind is going to come from next and what our optimal course is to Horta. Can you ever have too much weather information or too much coffee? I don't know.
Alright guys, I think we've got just enough wind to sail, so we're going to try and set the jib here and see see if we can do a little bit of upwind sailing, this time on port tack. Let's go.
First, Curtis takes the slack out of the starboard side jib sheet so that it's ready to trim once he unfurls it. The longer it is slack and flapping, the more life we are losing in the sail, even though our current sail is pretty old and well used to begin with.
Alright guys, we are moving right along at about 5 knots. We'll take it. We got the engine off, silent running again, and we'll be happy with what we've got. Okay guys, I think that'll about do it. We're doing just over 5.5 to 6 knots right now, heading of 88, which is just a little low of the angle to the mark, which is about 70 degrees from here. But we'll take it for now, and we'll sail for a little bit, shut the motor off, and relax.
The sun seemed to rise so slowly on the morning of day 7. We had been at sea about a week, and the times on our watches no longer matched that of the fireball in the sky. Perhaps it felt slow because our frustration towards the weather models was increasing, and we were sailing blind to whatever conditions came our way.
Everybody's sleeping. It's 9:30 in the morning, and they're catching up on rest. Take a look. Oh, you're awake. You're not sleeping.
Well, it was pretty light air, but for some reason we're just feeling tired. I think it's a lot of looking at the weather, downloading models, and just racking our brains and trying to figure out what in the world is going on. None of the models are really matching up, and none of the models are really matching up to actual weather that's going on around us. It's just a lot of guessing game, and so I think it's tiring us out a little bit, but the winds have been light, so trying to conserve fuel where we can because we've got more light air ahead of us. It has been pretty good going. I haven't been seasick yet, so super happy about that. Take a look around. It's starting to rain.
It's starting to rain a little bit, but the cockpit is pretty clean. Maybe we'll get a boat wash.
Of breeze, pretty glassed over. It's got the weirdest overcast skies. Let's see if I can't show you the sun. I can look directly at the sun because it just has this fog over it. It's like one solid cloud, just making for no wind really.
Roxy took advantage of the calm waters and motoring to catch up on some sleep as Curtis and I enjoyed the sunset together. What would day 8 bring? Would we find ourselves with full canvas ripping along on track towards the Azores?
Watching the sunset together. It's right over there. So you think there'll be a green flash?
Oh, definitely. Here it goes.
Boom.
The ocean was so glassed over that Curtis decided to use some quick drying epoxy to patch up some holes in our dinghy. Why not? What else were we going to do with this light wind? Might as well accomplish something we didn't get to before we left and wait for better weather. Or maybe not.
We are almost halfway there. We are 100 miles from our halfway point. We have 1,190 miles to go as the crow flies, and we're having a great time today. All right, back to your regularly scheduled programming. I think I'm going to go fly the drone.
It was amazing seeing the various blues the ocean shared with us on this journey. Viewing the boat from this perspective really allowed us to think outside ourselves as we observed the seemingly endless sea.
Azores. And not much to report other than super light winds, seeing winds of 1 to 3 knots, of gusts to 5. And pretty quiet though. We caught up on some sleep, but we are motoring, which is not our favorite, but it's working out for us so far, making some forward progression. Seeing the models change, that's good. Not a whole lot to report other than saw some foam floating in the ocean this morning. The glass has finally gone away because there is this little squall up here bringing some wind, but not really still enough to sail in. I'll give you a look-see at the squall.
The squall brought some winds, so to be safe we hoisted the staysail instead of the number 2, as it was still on deck and ready to go. The winches often have to share sheets, so we removed the jib sheets to make room for the staysail. Curtis ties a stopper knot so that the number 2 won't come unfurled. He then goes up to the bow to take off the sail tie, fastening it down, to prepare for the hoist. The rains were light, and eventually so was the wind again, so we decided to burn a bit of diesel and charge up the batteries from the strangely overcast day. We also took advantage of the light winds and calm seas to refill our tanks with the extra jerry cans we brought along that we had bought in St. Maarten. We were grateful to be making forward progress. As night settled in, a full moon shone in the sky. It was a beautiful sight to see, but as darkness fell, another blip came onto the radar.
Well, hello everyone. It is the evening of day 8, and as soon as I go on shift, the radar alarm goes off, and I go outside to check it out. Maybe there's a little squall cloud or something. What could it be? All of a sudden, 4 miles away, there's lights on the horizon, and so it's a boat don't see it on AIS, but it's definitely a boat because there are lights on the horizon. And not quite sure what he is. The wind is up a little bit, but a little bit shifty. Got my trusty autopilot and trying to keep us moving.
Next week on Sweet Ruka, the winds return, but so does the cold. And we get creative with our sail plan.
Boat speed 4